So I'm super pumped to be here with Hannah, my business partner. And I want to talk a little bit about our newest book, The Companion, which we both wrote together. But the idea for The Companion really started with a podcast that Hannah did. And she records her podcast, and she sent the podcast over to me and read me this little caption about this faraway castle and this magical kingdom with dragons and knights. And then she said, wouldn't it be cool if we could teach children how money really works and about the infinite banking concept, but do it through a children's book? Let's write a children's book. Folks, the biggest thing I want to say is when you have an idea, a worthy idea that pops in your mind, you just need to go forward with it. You need to just do it. This book was very difficult to write, wasn't it?
It was.
Just lots of challenges, and it all started with just one podcast, one little snippet of information in that podcast, and that was the worthy idea. Hannah, tell them how the idea of this amazing children's book, The Companion, came to be.
And it really came about because my podcast, my demographic on there is really geared towards people, I would say, in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And actually, surprisingly, most of my demographic is male, which really surprised me too.
It's not really too big of a surprise.
But this whole script of the podcast came about when my best girlfriend came to me and she says, you know what, how cool would it be if we use like analogies where your policy is like your shield, okay? You, the policy owner, you're the knight. And the sword is taking out your policy loans. And the objective is go slay the dragons, which is market volatility. You know, different interventions that try to come in and take over our financial life. So that's really where the podcast episode came about. And then we were chatting it up one day and you said, oh my gosh, this is so cool. We could really take this and totally transform young people's lives. And honestly, I never had a passion to be a writer, write books. And now up to this point, I've written 2 books now. So whatever I'm doing is working. But this one is more of my passion project just because me being second generation into this infinite banking concept and how much that has totally transformed my life and what I've been able to do with my own creativity, my own autonomy over my time and my money. I just want other people to have and live that same freedom. So if y'all haven't picked it up already, I know it doesn't say within the companion book itself, but your companion is your policy. Your little girl, that is you, or your daughter, your son, and they are the ones who are taking out and utilizing this companion, their policies, to take them on these different adventures so that they don't have to rely on anybody else or the village to support them. They are able to be totally 100% self-sustained through their own companion here.
How cool. So in today's episode, we're literally going to go through the book and we're going to talk to you a little bit about how you can use this to teach your kids or grandkids how money really works with a fun fable called The Companion. So one of the things for me being a father of a 5-year-old is the importance of teaching my daughter the things I was never taught. And one of those things I was never taught is how money really worked. I remember growing up, Hannah, my mom used to save her spare change in this big glass jar. And I remember we would go in and we'd dump that glass jar out on her floor and we would count all the change, separate them out, quarters, nickels, dimes, pennies, and we would roll them. And then I'd watch my mom count it up. And the one thing I remember is vivid. My mom had this goal of saving up for a new lawnmower because ours was on the fritz. And we counted all the money. And I remember we went to Sears and we brought home a lawnmower. Mowing the lawn was never so enjoyable than that moment because I watched my mom for months, if not a year, save up money to buy this lawnmower. So when somebody does that and goes through that amount of work, it really, really makes that thing special. And I know that's different for a lot of your lives, but I think the importance is, how are you going to teach your children how money works? How are you going to teach your children the things you were never taught so that we can set them up for a better life? So what we thought we would do is just walk you through this book, The Companion, and talk to you about how each one of these little lessons for this furry little critter called the companion and the girl really can teach your children these important lessons. But let me start with just the back of the book. When do we learn the most important lessons in life and how do we learn them? We can amass no greater wealth than deep and trusting relationships cultivated through care, decency, and consistency. Yet, the knowledge and the insight needed to build and sustain these life skills are rare. Simply being told what's right or wrong, what steps to take or where, is never enough. And so life finds its own unique ways of teaching us these lessons that we neither imagined nor anticipated. How true is that?
Yeah.
It goes on to say, how then can we be sure that we will remember and apply these lessons in our own life? What enables those seeds of wisdom to blossom into principles that bear the fruit of life well spent? It is our participation in the process of hearing, reasoning, and questioning, and deciding. The companion encourages children to discover within themselves the fundamentals of life, which they already know and which can never be reinforced strongly enough. The value of nurturing long-term relationships through empathy and compassion is contrasted with the consequences of selfishly seeking instant gratification in the form of a parable that guides the child towards self-discovery. Rather than the prescriptive manual for kindness, this book offers the essential lessons necessary to cultivate the wisdom available to all of us. So one of the things I thought we'd do in today's episode is walk through some of the lessons this book teaches your children. Hannah, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so this comes directly from companionbook.com, where you can go and purchase and research more about this book. But what this really teaches children is the give and take of relationships. Love, friendship, and trust thrive on mutual care and respect. When we only take without giving back, even the strongest relationships can weaken. Responsibility and stewardship, whether it's friendship, a dream, a business, or even our own well-being, we must invest in what sustains us or risk losing it. A lesson in boundaries. True generosity isn't about giving endlessly until we have nothing left. It's about knowing when to give, when to receive, and when to replenish. The danger of short-term thinking and the power of delayed gratification. Like so many of us, the child believes the things that sustain her will always be there. But by the time she realizes her mistake, the damage is nearly irreversible, a powerful reminder that what we neglect to nurture today may not be there tomorrow. So while written, this book is for children, the companion speaks to readers of all ages. It offers profound lessons that can be applied to everyday aspects within our life, all the way up to adulthood and even as we grow older together.
If any of you remember when you were a child, your parents reading The Giving Tree or The Missing Piece to you, that book read to you as a child totally different than it did to the parent, but the parent got out of that book just as much as the child did. I know this because when I started as a child, my mom would read me The Giving Tree. I loved that book. Then now I'm a parent and I was reading that to my little girl and the book came off completely different. The companion will have the exact same feeling for you. It will teach each of you, the parent and the child, something totally different. And one of the things we did that I loved is we incorporated songs into it. I know when I'm reading my daughter a book, she loves it when she can sing along. So I'm just going to give you a few of these that meant so much. Off we go to chase our dreams, laughing and bursting at the seams. With a skip and a jump, we're running free. In this beautiful world, just you and me. Referring to the companion, which, as you already know by now, is the policy, and the little girl is the client. Then it goes on, and as the book continues, this is another one of the songs. I wait alone while you roam free on a path that was meant for you and me. My strength fades with each passing day, yet still I hope you find your way. The little girl goes off on an adventure prematurely. In other words, the policy wasn't funded to a point where the little girl should be taking loans from it, but the client, the girl, takes loans and jeopardizes the future growth of the policy. So this is the policy sitting there waiting for its policyholder to come back and fund it and repay the loans. As the book goes on, the girl keeps taking and taking, in other words, taking loans and taking loans, but forgetting to pay the policy back and be an honest banker. Hannah, talk about what happens when this little girl almost destroys the policy.
She sings, through summer's heat and winter's rain, I give all I can to spare you pain. For all I have, I'll gladly share to keep you safe, to show you care. So this is a companion coming back even after the little girl keeps taking and taking. He's still there to provide the warmth, the shelter for her, even though she's been kind of neglecting, being a bad owner, being a bad friend, daughter. But the policy is still there because it understands the true power of compassion, love, and loyalty.
And giving.
And giving. And at the very end of it, you know, they kind of go through a lot of hardships together, but I want to read the very last passage back here. The little companion says, "Hand in hand we walk once more, with lessons learned and faith restored. The road ahead may rise and fall, but I'll be at your side through it all."
I'll be at your side through it all. How true is that, and how important is that in life? Whether it's, you know, in this case, the little companion, which is the policy, or the people that we love throughout our lives. I just think this book has so much to tell and so much to give. We're not doing this video just so that you go out and get a copy, but we hope you do. We hope you read it to your children and your grandchildren and their children. And I hope each of them gain something from this that helps change their life and guide their futures. Hannah, what would you say?
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure to write this with you. And it's just been a pleasure because I know at the age that I'm at now, not married, don't have children. My 2 kitty cats are my children, okay? But, you know, Chris, you and I were having the conversation. You're like, "Hannah, I just don't think you'll ever get it. I just don't think you'll get it." And I remember when all of my copies came into the mail and I was sitting there, this might be a little TMI, but I was sitting there in my bathtub, I had my bubbles all around me, my candles lit, and I started reading it. And that's when it really clicked. You know, I got it, how powerful this was of what we were doing, but that's the moment that it truly clicked, that I was like, whoa, what we're truly doing and leaving to younger generations is very, very powerful. So I just really hope that people find the joy and the wisdom out of the teaching and the reading here. And hey, who knows, maybe there'll be a part 2 coming up. Maybe there'll be even little plushy stuffed animals that we create for this and all the merch. But just thank you, y'all, for purchasing, believing in us, and just being so loyal as a community to the Money Multiplier, BYOB, PMC. We couldn't do this without you. We really appreciate you.
And if any of you want to grab a copy, you can get one by going to companionbook.com or just go to Amazon and type in The Companion. With that being said, thanks for joining us for this episode. And also, if you like this one, check this video out, Vivi Lucky Jeans. The policy I started for my daughter when she was 6 months old. We'll see you next time.